What's up, YouTube? Oh my God. Why I pull all this hair out looking like I'm Amish? Okay, so story time. Hope y'all doing all right. I promised y'all a story time, so I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a story time. I was driving to go to the doctor, and I was supposed to do it the other day, but I didn't get a chance to because the traffic was crazy and it was raining. So today I'm gonna do my story time. So this story is basically about how I didn't find out that my mother had died until 8 months after she died. First, just to give you guys a little background, me and my mom did not have a relationship, which is sad all in itself, but that's the truth. I was raised by my dad's mom and her husband, who is my father, but he was not my biological grandfather. He was just married to her at the time, and he took care of me and a host of other kids, okay? So, my mom had one child. It was my brother, my older brother. And when she had him, I don't know, I want to say when he was about 4 maybe, she got pregnant with me. And something happened. I don't know if this is why she went to jail while she was pregnant, but I know something happened to my older brother, and my mom injured the other kid. So she may have went to jail for that, or it may have been something else. I don't know all the details. But whatever happened caused her to be in jail for the remainder of the pregnancy, and she gave birth to me while she was in jail. This is what I was told. Now, I don't know all these to be facts. This is just what I was told by my family growing up. So she gave birth to me in jail, and my dad came and got me from the hospital, and he tried to take me to his mom, but his mom was like, no, I'm done raising kids, yada, yada, yada. She wasn't trying to hear it. So I ended up staying with a family friend. Her name was Fanny. I stayed with her for 3 months. And then when I was 3 months old, my grandmother finally saw me for the first time. And then when she saw me in person, she was like, this is my baby. She ain't leaving. And she pretty much raised me, my grandmother, and her husband, who I call my father. He's not my biological grandfather, but he is my father, if you guys understand. My older brother actually was raised by my mom's friend, who supposedly named me. So I have a very unique name, y'all. And I'll probably share that with y'all just not right now. So, anyway, my older brother, he knew of me because she was pregnant while she had him. So he remembered that she was pregnant. He knew that his adopted mom named me. He knew all of that. So anyway, fast forward. Now, growing up, I didn't know if I had siblings or not. My family didn't know that I had siblings. And it didn't dawn on me to check my birth certificate because I was a kid. You know, what kid is going to be like, let me look at my birth certificate? I just thought I was the only child. And it's really sad because I wanted siblings very bad. As a kid, I did grow up with a lot of cousins around my age. So I did have, people to play with and bond with, but it was nothing like an actual sibling. And I actually lied about one of my cousins, well, 2 of them. I used to tell people at school that was my sister and brother when they was really my cousins. It was my dad's sister's kids. So anyway, I had a really good childhood. There were some traumatic things that happened, but nothing traumatic like that. Nothing, I had a good childhood. I can't really complain. As far as me being raised by my grandparents, that was a true blessing. So I would not sit here and try to act like, oh my God. I'm not going to lie. Like, my mom's death is sad. It hurt because that was my mother. But I didn't miss out on much as a child because of the relationship that I had with my grandparents. That relationship, that gap, not gap, but the emptiness, that did not come until later, and I'll explain why. But I had a great childhood. My mom she tried to reach out when I was a kid. She tried to reach out, but my grandmother was like, no, don't come over here. I'll kill you. You ain't taking her. My grandmother was very overprotective because she knew what type of lifestyle, she knew what type of lifestyle my mom led. And, you know, she was into drugs and all this other stuff. And my dad and my mom was like, no, they didn't want me to be in that type of environment. So I didn't have any type of contact with her as a kid. So anyway, time passed, and when I was about 17, no, it was before that, maybe 16. About age 16, I cannot remember the exact age when I found out about my little sister. I found out about her before all of the other boys. Her mom her stepmom pretty much told me about all the other kids and their names and all that other stuff. And I went to check my birth certificate, and there it was, plain as day, one living child, you know, before me. And I'm like, dang, so I do have an older brother. So I found out about my little sister, who at the time was very young. I talked to her on the phone sometimes. I did send her gifts sometimes, you know, because I was in my teenage years growing up. My mom was writing me letters from jail because she was in and out of jail too. And she always knew where I was. So she wrote me a letter, and she was asking me to go and get my twin brothers. Now, mind you, I'm just finding out about all these brothers and siblings. And I'm like, what she mean go get them? Like, I'm 16 years old, 17. Like, go get them and do what with them? You know? So basically they was getting ready to get adopted. And she just figured that I would go and get them and they could live with me. They was babies, or, you know, or I don't know how old they was exactly, but they was little. So I told my aunt about it, and my aunt was like, no. And I could, you know, we didn't do it. So they ended up getting adopted, and it was a closed adoption. So we didn't know where they were. We had to wait until they got older to find out, you know, where they were. When they turned 18, that's when we found out, or a little older. So anyway, I'm skipping stuff. So anyway, I knew about my siblings in my young adulthood. So one day, my older brother's sister, or cousin, I think it's his cousin from people that raised him, she reached out to me on Facebook and asked me if my mom's name, if that was my mom, did I know I had a brother. Like, she found me and she connected with me with my brother. So when I talked to my brother on the phone for the first time, he was very overwhelmed because he didn't know nothing about all the other kids. He just thought it was me and him. So, you know, we connected on that note. And then I was in contact with my sister, so I told him about her. And then my other two brothers, was in contact with them, went to go actually meet one of them in person. The other one had went to jail for something, so couldn't meet him in person, but definitely he wrote letters, you know, back and forth or whatever to me. So at this point, we're all in contact with each other except for the twins. So twins end up turning 18 or whatever. And one of my brothers found them. So we all connected. We have not met up in person, but we all know who each other is, and we talk. We have a group chat that we talk in, and we have to do better about seeing each other and all that. But none of us actually have been around each other like that. Only the brother that was born after me and the brother born after him. Those two were raised together, and then the set of twins, supposedly they share the same dad. They were born and taken away. And then my sister, you know, she was raised by her dad and his sister, so she wasn't around either. So anyway, I saw my mom. Let's talk about when I saw my mom in person. So I saw my mom in person for the first time, and she looked good when I met her for the first time. And I was in shock because we look a lot alike. She looked good, but I knew the type of lifestyle she was living, so I was very, very cautious about information that I gave her. She wanted to know my address and everything, and I didn't give it to her. I told her that, whenever she came to town, we could meet up somewhere because I wanted to take it really, really slow. I was getting ready to have my first child, and I just didn't want to have I didn't want to bring nothing negative, negative impact on my baby as it pertains to my mom, because I knew that she was into drugs, and I just wanted to make sure that she was doing good before any of that occurred. So she told me that she would come and meet me probably, like, I want to say a few months after I initially saw her for the first time. She was like, I'm going to come back to town at such and such time, and, we can meet up then. So I'm like, okay, cool. You got my number, call, we can meet up. I'm down with that. She never came, never called, never heard from her again. I heard from her, but she never came or called. So a lot of time passed. I had my baby. He was, I don't know how many months he was, but she ended up calling out the blue, apologizing for not coming. So I'm like, it's cool. And I felt in her voice that she sounded like she was high or something was off. And I was like, I'm probably dodging the bullet anyway, so it's cool. It is what it is. So long story short, I went on about my life. I talked to my siblings here and there, but I wasn't really pressed about, her coming around, especially that I had my own child now, and I wanted to keep my child safe from harm and all that stuff. And I was just like, nah, I'm good. So anyway, let me see what's next. So after that, she would pop in and out like every couple of years. I'd hear from her, or every few years. I never had an official way to contact her as far as a phone number. She knew my information. I never knew her information enough to keep contact with her. I always had to wait until I heard from her or something like that. So she ended up making a Facebook page and followed me on Facebook. By this time, I had all 3 of my children, and she was stealing their pictures off of my page and putting it on her page, saying, my grandchildren. And don't get me wrong, I was like, okay, I wasn't upset about her taking the pictures, but it made me feel some type of way, because I'm like, you don't even know them, like, and you putting their pictures on your page for what reason? So something told me to go through her page. And when I went through her page, I saw all of her friends, and the people that was on her page was a bunch of convicts and stuff, like a bunch of people that had been locked up. And I was like, oh no. So I had blocked her from my Facebook, and I told her to take my kids' pictures down because I wasn't comfortable with that. I was just trying to be safe. So she did just that. Now, time passed. My dad ended up passing away. And I heard from her when he passed. She was saying she was sorry for the loss, and she was sad because she loved him and all this stuff. So I heard from her when he died. And that was some years later. So then, after that, I ain't talked to her for a while. And then one day, she called me on the FaceTime, and I didn't answer. I called my sister because, mind you, me, my sisters and brothers, we were all talking at this point. We didn't talk every day, but we have our little group chat. So I told my sister that, that she was calling on video chat. If you want to get on, let's all talk to her. My sister was like, I'm down. So me and my sister got on video chat with her. And when she got on the camera, as soon as her camera turned on, my phone dropped and my sister's phone dropped because she looked that bad. Like, she looked so bad. It was like we was looking at a skeleton with skin on it. Like, you could just tell that she was just on drugs bad, And it was embarrassing and it was sad. She even, while talking to her, the phone, the camera went down some, and we saw a crack pipe in the video, like on camera. And my sister was like, I cannot believe that I see what I see. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, dang, like, I try not to judge, because I know she lived through a lot of things. Because when I met her in person, she did tell me some things, like she was essayed by her dad, and that she ran away from home as a kid and was out on the streets, and she lived a hard life. So I know that those are the reasons that she chose the path she chose. It's just it hurts because she didn't take the initiative to try to at least try for her kids. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's hard when you lived a certain kind of life and you just, like, it's hard for some people. I get that. It really hurt me more so for the younger siblings. For me, because I was so blessed, in my childhood, it caused me to overlook pain in that category, if that makes sense to y'all. Like, it was easier for me to overlook pain and be like, I'm good, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what word I'm looking for, but there was times where I was a little sad, because I didn't have regular parents, regular household with regular siblings like everybody else that I knew. But I always looked at the bigger picture, even when I was a little kid. And I believe that I was able to do that because I had a close relationship with God at a young age. So, and even, of course, today I'm still close to God. So I feel like that's what keeps me sane. And that's what keeps me, from not breaking down from that situation. Because it's sad. It's very sad. Even when I tell some of my friends, about how my mom was and how I was raised and how my siblings was raised, they get sad. And I even had one of my friends cry to me about my situation, because everybody can't handle it, if that makes sense. But God blessed me to be strong, and I'm not saying I never get sad, because I'm human. So of course things are sad, but I'm strong. So anyway, so to talk about what I meant when I said certain things didn't affect me as a kid, but it affected me later, as far as the, having that missing gap in your life. So what I mean by that is that when I started to get older, my grandparents were already grandparents when I came into this world. So what that means is essentially my parents were already older. And this is the problem with grandparents raising grandchildren and not being able to just play the grandparent role. We look at our grandparents as in a parent role, and some people are lucky to have young grandparents that get to fully raise them. But then in my situation, my grandparents were already older. So by the time I really needed them, they started to pass away. They started to get sick and couldn't do much. So then I fell into the hands of, the rest of my family. And the relationship wasn't proper, if that makes sense to y'all. Like, I always felt like I got, like, for Christmas, I would spend Christmas with my aunt. And my aunt, hands down, I ain't gonna say no names, rest in peace to my aunt. She hooked me up. She made me feel included, like she bought for her kids, she bought for me for Christmas, and I appreciate her for doing that, because I was able to have Christmases with them, and her and her kids and her family. Even though I could see the difference in the gifting and all that other stuff, I still appreciate the fact that she included me. You understand? So as I got older, those relationships started to dwindle to where I didn't have that at all. You know what I'm saying? My aunt passed away, and then I didn't have that relationship with anybody in my family, to where it's like, you're my kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm still a kid now. Still a kid, middle school age, you want somebody to scoop in and be like, I'm your parent, I'm gonna take care of you, what you need, what you want, I'm proud of you, blah 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 blah. Like I said, I had relationships with my family. I had my uncle and his girlfriend, I had my aunts, I had cousins, but nobody ever replaced my grandparents. So, when they started to get sick and pass, that gap was just empty for the rest of my life, even to this day. I feel like what I get is, I just wanted to come back and say, I was in the middle of editing and I decided to go ahead and say what I actually meant by, saying that I didn't have anybody that gave me that relationship. I try to watch. I don't want to step on nobody's toes or make somebody feel some type of way. I'm just telling my truth and I'm trying to be transparent in it. What I meant was I have family, right? I have an uncle, I have an aunt, I have cousins who love me. I have friends, and I'll get on that in a second. But when I say the gap is still there, what I mean is I didn't have the relationship that I got from my grandparents with nobody else in this world ever. My grandparents stepped in as a parental role. They loved me, treated me like a child of theirs, raised me like a child of theirs, cared about what I was doing, how I was doing in school, and all that type of stuff. So when they were gone, well, really, when my grandmother passed, I didn't have that from nobody. I didn't get regular report card checks, and I was celebrated sometimes, but it was very rare. Never got thrown any birthday parties or anything like that beyond my grandmother. So I didn't have that parental relationship with nobody. Even when I went to stay with my aunt, she allowed me to come and stay with her, but our relationship was never, ever, ever like that, ever. And like I said, I'm not going to throw nobody under the bus. I have nothing bad to say, but I will say that that's not what I got from my relationship with her and nobody else. As far as family goes, I have cousins, I have an uncle, I have aunts and cousins and all that I love dearly. But again, I didn't have that relationship from nobody. All the love that I received was secondary love, which is normal in your normal family. Your aunt is your aunt, your cousins are your cousins, so they're not going to be your parents, if that makes sense. God blessed me with some very good friends, and I wanted to add that in there, to where my friends actually support my children, and they support me in ways that my parents would had they been here. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to showing up for things for them, birthdays, Christmases, like my friends show up and they show out. And I do my end, I do my part as well, because some of them have kids too. But my friends, I'm guessing that God said, let me line up these people for her, because he knew that I wouldn't have that relationship with my parents, or that my grandparents would be gone before I grew up. So that's what I meant. And I just wanted to clarify, because I was a little hesitant in the video, and that's why I kind of paused. Like, I got to watch what I say, because I don't want to make nobody feel bad in case they see this video. I'm sure they probably will, it depending on how many views it gets. But it's the truth. I love my family, but I'm just speaking my truth. That's all. I don't know what words to use, because I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus or make nobody feel no type of way, because I appreciate all my people. But my kids don't have, and I don't have that gap. It's just empty for me and my children, as it pertains to my side. You know what I'm saying? My dad has passed away. My mom has passed away. Well, I guess my mom was never involved anyway, but my grandparents would have been that for me had they been healthy and alive today, if that makes sense. If my grandmother was still here, if my grandfather was still here, those two people, healthy and alive, I would have that gap wouldn't be empty. But it's empty because I don't have them. But because of my relationship with God, I'm strong. So I'm still pushing through. And it's not something that I break down and cry about. Oh my God, help me, oh me, oh me, oh me. And I see people, and I don't judge others because I know some people, like I said, some people not as strong as others, and they can't handle situations that I may be able to handle. And I'm not saying I'm the strongest person in the world, but just because I'm able to handle the situation, it doesn't mean that I don't see that there is a gap there. You know what I'm saying? So I just raise my kids to the best of my ability, and I try to give them that love. Like I'm trying to give them the relationship that they're missing. And I explain to them, what happened to my mom, and they know about my grandparents, they know about all that stuff. And I know they got older and they start having questions, and then that's when it started to get sad. When your kid comes to you and they're like, why I don't have a grandmother on your side of the family, or what's your mom's name? And my kids started questioning me about that when they was about 6 years old and up. So I try my best to explain to them, the situation. And I pray to God that God blesses me and my husband to be able to be here for these children, throughout their lives, because they didn't get the blessing that a lot of people and their children have. That's why I tell people I know, don't take the relationship that you have with your parents for granted, especially if you have parents that are present and that are able to not necessarily provide, because it's not all about the money, but who think of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a cousin whose mom, she do everything for her grandkids. Like, she stepped in, swooped in, and scooped them up. Like, so it's a blessing. And I tell her that all the time. Don't take it for granted, because everybody doesn't have that. If my grandparents were here today, I would just be so happy, especially my grandmother, because when my grandmother loved me. She had her own children, but she loved me too. She had her own kids, but she loved me too. And I was the youngest one, so I was like her baby. When she passed away, last thing she was worried about when she died was me. And I was legally her kid. That was my mom. So anyway, I done went all off into my story. So I'm grown now. I have 3 kids, 1 on the way. A couple of years ago, I started getting this feeling that I felt like my mom would pass away. And I even told my sibling, I'm like, we haven't heard from her in a long time. I'm getting this bad feeling. I feel like she might not be here anymore. I'm not sure. And my sister was like, I hope not. And, So we started to look for her. Didn't find anything. So I ended up hearing from her FaceTime. Not FaceTime, but messenger audio. She called and she was high and sounded very bad. And I ended up hanging up. I couldn't talk to her because she was high from drugs. So I told my sister that I had heard from her and that she was alive. So, boom. Time passed. And then last month, we got information from one of our brothers that she had passed away in December of last year. And right now it's August. So how many months is that? December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 8 months. It's August. And she basically passed away. She was sick and had been in the hospital for a very long time. We never knew. And he did a background check and he was able to see that she had died. And he told us about it. Like, he just randomly did the check and that's how he found out. So my sister took all that information and she went behind him to make sure. And she ended up finding the hospital. Like, that girl, Detective Hat, she get kudos from me because she was able to find out a lot of stuff. Like, she found out how she passed exactly. She found out, she even found some relatives. She found our grandfather, my mom's biological father, who, of course, he died years ago. But she found his daughters his daughter and her daughter, even though they don't really want anything to do with us. It's just, it's a good thing to know that, you do have family somewhere, even though We'll probably never get to meet them or be around them. They are of a different race. My mom's dad was Creole, and something else. I don't know what all he was mixed with, but he looks Hispanic. I did the ancestry test, and I did not have any Spanish in me. So he looks like, he's Creole for sure, but he does look between like a Hispanic Creole, whatever that may look like. And then his daughter is Hispanic, and her daughter is Hispanic. And the lady that my sister got in contact with basically gave her information. She basically said, I knew about your mom, and he told me that before he passed, but I'm giving you this information, but I don't want to move forward with anything else. So, like, I'm giving you this information and that's it. So I'm like, wow, people out here really don't have hearts, huh? It's cool, So it's sad, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much the end of my story. So, I got married. I had my own children to focus on, but I definitely went through all of that as a kid without my parents and losing my grandparents at a young age. My grandmother died when I was 10 years old, and I was hurt. And I went to live with my aunt when I was 14. I stayed with my grandfather until I turned 14, and he got sick and couldn't, provide. So then I had to go stay with her, and that's a whole other story. And me and my aunt, we were in contact with each other, but that's all I really have. I got my uncle, his wife, and I have my aunt that I stayed with when I was 14, and I have cousins, you know what I'm saying? But it's their family. But I don't have that relationship with grandparents, like with parents like I had with my grandparents, because that's the downside to grandparents raising grandchildren as their children. They don't live to be able to be a part of the moments where you need them, where I have my kids and they're looking for their grandparents on my side, and my grandparents have passed away. They're not capable of being here. You know what I'm saying? So that's the part that hurts me the most out of the situation. Even more so, me not having them in that time frame of my life until now. What hurts me the most is my children not being able to enjoy that love from them that I received. Because I know my grandmother would have loved all over my babies. And it would have been bad, not bad, but bad in a good way. Like, I would have been calling her like, hey, can I come pick up my baby today? Not today. Because my grandmother, she was very loving. And she would have spoiled them rotten. She would have. But I know, that she has been around my children. When my oldest son was little, I had a t-shirt on with her picture. And he said, I know her. And I'm looking at him like, you must think this is, I'm thinking he thought it was my aunt because my aunt looks just like her. And I asked him, do you think that this is, and I said her name. And he said, no, that's not her, but I know who that is. And I said, you know what? I bet you do. Because my grandmother, I'm telling you, like, she did not play behind me. She loved all of her kids. She had, 5 kids? But when I came along, they was all grown. So it was time for her to love on the grandbabies. My dad was grown, and I was that grandchild that was in her presence every day. She loved on all her grandkids. But she raised me as her kid, not her grandchild. And I miss her terribly. So that's my story, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. When I meet my siblings, I may share that with you guys if they give permission. I'm not using any names, any pictures, or anything like that, because I have not received anybody's permission to do anything. I have permission to tell my story, and that's what I did. And I don't want to shed any type of negative light on nobody. It is what it is. But yeah, so that's my story. Thank you so much for listening. There'll be more story times because I do have some other things to talk about. And I know I probably missed some stuff too, because you can't tell, I'm 39 years old. You cannot tell 39 years of a story in 5-10 minutes. But I tried to give you guys all the parts that equal up to what the whole topic of the story was, that, you know, the reason why I didn't know that my mom passed away for 8 months and how it affected me. So thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my story. I really appreciate y'all. Hit that subscribe button if you ain't hit it yet, because there'll be more videos. So the basis of my channel mainly is going to be me and my family. We'll be posting all sorts of videos. My kids, initially my channel was supposed to be me just daily vlogging, right? Not a whole lot of videos with the kids. But baby, my kids is not having it. Especially my daughter. She like, let me get in, because you doing this video and I want to get in. Because she used to have, well, she still has an Instagram and everything else. She used to have her own business, my daughter. And so we did a lot of filming with her and her brothers too, even though they didn't too much care for the camera when they was younger. I didn't force them. I only recorded them when they wanted to, and it was a lot of times when they didn't want to be bothered, so I didn't really have much to post on their page. But my daughter had a hair bow business, and I have some stories behind that too. Yeah, she has an Instagram, and I've pretty much turned away from Instagram, many reasons, and I'll talk about that later. But thank you again for watching, and hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next video. I'm finna go and take a nap. Peace, love, blessings to everybody. If you already watched some of my other videos, thank you so much. Go check out the video with the pregnancy food cravings, y'all, because that video is hilarious. I promise you're going to get a laugh in on that video. Talk to you guys later.